Global Spirits was in a problem and now it is out of the woods. But just to understand what actually happened with the company and what did they do to cover is what we'll focus now on. So I think in July 2023, so the government banned the purchase of rice from FCI. I think that is the Food Corporation of India, right? Make this ban was because at that time, as there was inflation and the monsoons were also very erratic, so the government was really stressed about the production of grains. And in India, people do consume a lot of rice.
Hi guys, welcome to the Rupeeting's podcast known as the Common Sense. We are back this week with a full panel, and we everyone say hi to
Hi.
our beloved. So it's a weekend when we're recording, and we thought that we should talk about something that people would like to do on a weekend. So we're back with a very interesting company today. But before we dive into that, I think just couple of weeks back we talked about a company, the Praj industry, where we talked about how the government's priority of ensuring food safety resulted in a ban of sugar because it's an essential food item, and that because it was used in ethanol production, but because it was a essential food item, that was banned. And most of India's ethanol is made from sugar. So we sensed an opportunity in Praj industry. Similarly, as in Praj's case, that used to make equipment for distilleries. So it saw an uptick in orders from ethanol manufacturers who used grain instead of sugar because of the ban. And that portfolio would be able to buffer it from such shocks in the future, because food safety can always come back. For example, right now sugar is in abundance. That's why the government must have lifted the ban. But that might change in the future, considering the climate change, and because these are very volatile things. At the same time, something similar kind of thing happened when last year, I think, the government has also banned the purchase of rice from FCI for making ethanol. So sugar in the Pradesh case and rice in the this company which we're going to talk about, which is called Global Spirits, because it impacted the business of a Global Spirit, because Global Spirit is a very rice dependent distillery. So, but so that tragedy happened with Global Cities, and I think that similar to the Praj, Global is also out of the seemingly out of the woods. But before that, let's just dwell into what Global Spirit is basically. So, as the name suggests, it makes spirits, which is alcohol. Simple. It makes alcohol in bulk, and there's a two part basically, which is something called as ENA, which is called extra neutral alcohol. So basically, this ENA is used to make Indian-made Indian liquor, which is 30% alcohol content, and there's also something called as Indian-made foreign liquor, which are basically your whiskeys and gin for all the bevadas out there, and ethanol, of course, they also make ethanol. So yeah, so the brand are very interesting, by the way. The company, this, oh, so they have this very value market, which is very cheap, kind of an alcohol. Not cheap, but slightly better than your desi tharras, but not as better as the high end alcohol. So the brand are very interesting name, called Goomer, Hiranja, and because it makes sense also, right? By the way, because the lovers whose hearts are broken can drink Hiranja, and then they can remember
Oh,
their Hir, right? Yeah, there
I
are also some other brands also include like Goldie and Shahi, not the Salman Khan wala Goldie. That is a masala brand. So
अरे
and
भाई यार
गोल्डी मसाले सच सच नहीं थे तो एमडीएच होता है ना, कुछ ऐसा
एमडीएच
कुछ।
हुआ भाई कुछ भी लगता है इसने हीर रांझा पिया है
I personally like Goomer better than his answer,
oh,
but yeah, I think they're also into premium brand, because as we know, the whole industry is going through a premiumization trend, and so is Global Spirit, Globus Spirit. The premium brands include Great Times, which is written as GR8 Times for Gen Z people out there. I don't know. Rajputana, then White Lace, the many more. You can look into Google and maybe buy also. I don't know. And there's one particular gene called Terai, which is into a luxury brand. So yeah, that's pretty much about Globus. So it makes ENA, which is used in IMIL, which is Indian made Indian liquor, and IMFL, Indian made foreign liquor, and it is into ethanol. So yeah, basically. So that's about
Yeah.
Global Spirit. And I
But
think the next is about yeah, go on, Pratik.
yeah, so I think as Chaitanya, rightly mentioned at the start of the podcast that, global spirits was in a problem and now it is out of the woods. But just to, understand what actually happened with the company and what did they do to, recover is what we'll focus now on. So I think in July 2023, so the government banned the purchase of rice from FCI. I think that is the Food Corporation of India, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, and for making ethanol, and ethanol is
Hmm.
one of the products which Globus Spirits does produce. So yeah, it definitely
Hmm.
did impact Globus Spirits a lot, and because of that particular reason, and why did it impact so much is that Globus Spirits was a rice focused distillery, and by rice
Yeah.
focused I mean that 65% of its revenue used to come mainly from using rice and then making ethanol. So a major chunk of your revenue driver when it's under a problem, it's obviously hard for the company to recover. And the market
Hmm.
thrashed it very well. Like it was at the highs of around 1200, 300, and it came down to around 700 rupees, 700 odd rupees within that, within a month or 2 months after that particular announcement. And I think
Hmm.
that particular ban was not just impacted global spirits in general, but there are other 100 distilleries as well which use rice, and there are few distilleries known as dual distilleries. So they either use sugarcane when it's available, and when then
Hmm.
sugarcane is not available, they shift to grains to produce the end products. So those were also affected. And I think basically FCI did make this ban was because at that time, as there was inflation and the monsoons were also very
Hmm.
erratic, so the government was really stressed about the production of grains. And in India, people do consume a lot of rice. So at the same time, the government also banned on the exports of the non basmati rice as well, to keep most of the rice production for the country itself. And as we had previously mentioned in the blog, food will always triumph over the other factors. So yeah, that was the problem. And because of that, I think what happened with Globus was that their profitability took a massive hit. So I think they were making around 7.1 rupees per liter in FY23, which came down to
Hmm.
2.9 rupees per liter in FY24. Obviously, it's gone down by a massive, it took a massive hit on its profitability. And at the same time, what happened was they also did aggressive expansion. So I think they increased their capacity from 165 million liters to around in FY22 to around 301. So that is almost 2x in 2 years. So they did a capex in the wrong time. Matlab, they
Yeah.
didn't foresee that this could happen, but it went wrong for them. And at the same time, that happened.
Hmm.
So yeah, that was the issue for Globus Spirits.
So I think capacity was doubled and
Yeah,
profitability was, I think, it down by the two-third. It down by two-third. And by the
it
way,
was almost
you mentioned
two-third,
from seven, it came down to almost three. But I
three.
think a year prior to that, that seven was also around 14 rupees. So from that
True.
level, it has crashed tremendously. So not a good time to be in global spirit. But I think
Yeah,
that was, I think you said this was about a year back. But
yeah. All this happened, I think, near
what
July,
what's
August 2023.
yeah. But I think, can you point out, Aditya, what is about now? I mean, currently the troubles are over or what?
See, not mentioning that our troubles over exactly, but
Hmm.
like after the 13 months of ban that has been lifted by government right now, within a
Hmm.
stock that we can see that like over the last year, Globus Spirit has been turned around story because they are using
Hmm.
rice for ethanol and making more predictable and more cheaper in terms of ethanol generation. Also government is demand is like increasing demand ki 20% ethanol should be
Hmm.
blended with petrol to use on the commercial levels of our vehicles as well. So I think that would be a good
Hmm.
story, and we feel that trouble is little bit on lower side or have been over for the Globus right now. And
So
also
But
the
then,
Hmm.
I'll add to Aditya's point.
Mhm.
So basically,
hmm,
if we talk about the ban, so right now it's been almost 13 months after the ban. Now on 30th August it was lifted. The stock has came back to what it was approximately last year. Okay, it has recovered most of its part, but Global Spirit can now return again to rice, and it will make its supply chain again more predictable and much more cheaper. So it can come back to the 7 point something rate that was costing was our profits of FY23. But right now, what saved Global Spirit in this last 1 year is that it was flexible enough to switch from rice to broken rice and maize. So it could easily hop between
Hmm.
production of DNA and ethanol to manage its output. Okay. So if it wasn't flexible, if it wasn't flexible during this period, then its whole business would have stopped. Its
Hmm.
financials and operations would have taken a complete toll right now because there would be no output if it couldn't switch easily. Additionally, Global Spirit has got
Hmm.
a lot of stability from its liquor business. Okay, so the liquor business approximately contributes to around 35% of its total revenue, and it has been exhibiting double-digit growth. So yeah, that is a good
Hmm.
signal for Global Spirit during this period.
So interestingly, the Pratik mentioned that they have doubled their capacity. Thankfully for them, it was a very flexible capacity. They could have made ethanol from maize, rice, or broken rice. So that was a good thing. And now that the rice ban is lifted to make ethanol, the whole capacity can be utilized to make ethanol from any of the three sources.
Right.
So I think so.
Rice
Yeah.
is
So
cheap. They
technically,
can come back to rice, and their profitability won't take a toll again.
yeah.
and then
Exactly.
this lifting of ban is also good because I think
Hmm.
FCI gives the buyers the rice at a very discounted amount. So I think
Hmm.
there's some discount of around 900 rupees per
Yeah.
quintal or metric quintal, I'm not sure, but yeah, there's some
Hmm.
a huge gap between the wholesale prices which are in the market and the price
Hmm.
which FCI gives. So again, yeah, that will also be a big boost for the company in its profitability, as you guys already mentioned. And then I think Hers was
Hmm.
talking about their liquor business, right? So I think it's consumer
Hmm.
business which contributes around 35%. It's almost one third, and one third of a business is also a huge amount, right? I mean, a huge
Hmm.
contributing factor to the company's growth. So we are
Hmm.
we think that Global Spirits will also try and do something in that particular segment. And as Harsh mentioned, that it has already clocked a growth of around
Double digit, it's blocking.
double digit growth, yeah. And
Hmm.
just to add some numbers to this, so I think Global Spirits was is as Chaitanya mentioned, is in the value spirits market, known as the Desi Daru. And in the last year itself, they made around 1.4 crore cases, and each case is around 12 crores. So the number of bottles which they sold in a particular year were around 17 crores. Yeah,
That's you.
Yeah. Yeah.
and
So apart
it
from
contributed to, yeah, please.
discussing numbers and the rice ban, there's one more very important thing acting as a catalyst for Global Spirit is now that the ethanol
Hmm.
production apart from India, let's say in US or other states, should are predominantly done through maize only, but that is not the level that is
Okay.
used in India. And with this many years of ban, like Globus has been adapted the new way. Let's produce ethanol from maize, and now it has been very much regularized as well. So also the sudden demand
Oh.
spike of maize has increased the prices in last year. But today, considering the demand that have been like slowing down because the restrictions have been lifted, whereas the
Hmm.
harvesting has also been increased for maize, and it has become a new big thing, which is the Globus is a player in industry for. So I think
Yeah,
it is
Fair
one
enough.
more, yeah.
I think maize can be a
Hmm.
stable kind of a thing because it's so let's
Hmm.
say in India people don't consume maize much as compared to
Correct.
wheat
Hmm.
or sugar. So
So ideally,
banning on these terms can be not that predicted. So yeah,
uh,
it can be a much more stable source.
so ideally, sugar and rice is one of the major food for being for India, and there has been a regulations
Yeah.
revolving around once, like every now and then. So that is not the case with
Hmm.
maize
Yeah. So the maize is shielded from the government regulatory point of view. That is
for
very
now, as
benefit
of for
for.
now.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
But I don't think maize will ever come under the regulatory purview. As Harsh mentioned, it's very low in terms of consumption, and it's
Hmm.
definitely not one of the essential food items. So yeah, I think that is good. So the two things, as we mentioned, the maize as a raw material to create ethanol, and the liquor business, which is growing at a double digit. Nice. So these two, I think, but I think in the liquor business itself is as the whole of the country is moving towards a more premium stuff, and so is the global spirit. So I think in effort to capitalize on this trend, the company has been taking several steps. So which seem to be adding, the much needed boost because it is mainly value focused, the Goomers and Heer Ranjas. So we might see, I don't know, maybe a Romeo Juliet.
Romeo
I
Juliet.
don't know. Yeah, more premium version. So I think, but yeah, so the company's prestige and above category, which is sort of a premium category, it has 10 brands in that, and those 10 brands grew by 40% YOY in FY24. So that's a good sign. Additionally, it recently launched a whiskey called Brothers and Company. So it has launched, it's also planned several of those launches through FY24 to boost further sales. It is currently present in only 7 states, but is also aggressively expanding its presence across the country. So I think if we look at it from the competitive perspective, it is still a very small brand, but I think they are doing an aggressive expansion. So that should also help. It has also seen immense success in the premium gin market. So the brand that we discussed called Terai, maybe, yeah,
Yeah,
and it
and
is expanding. Yeah.
yeah, and just to add, I think, as Chaitanya said that, the company is hardly present in like just 7 states, and then they have also, made inroads in the gin market. And especially India is a country where people predominantly, drink whiskey. And in the Gen Z or in the young group, we have been seeing, trends of people, ordering gin more, or, accepting gin as their preferred drink. And with, you know, Globus making its mark through its brand called Terai, that can also be a big market. And at the same time, the
Hmm.
company is also, entering into beer and the ready to drink market, which is also widely accepted amongst
Yeah.
the young crowd. So if the company is able to,
Hmm.
position itself out of the value shift market, and, just try and capture
Hmm.
some of the premiumization trend as well, that will also, increase their profitability margins at the same time, and, give boost to the company's sales and profits. So yeah.
Hmm. Nice. So I think we at Rupeeting don't like the companies which are, I think, focused around the regulatory point of view. But I think the shift towards the maize in the case of Global Spirit actually kind of takes the business away from that regulatory point of view. And growing consumer business, as we discussed, is also something that looks bright to us. So over the long term, we can see a case for a structural growth because strong demand in ethanol is there. No matter how the ethanol is made, the demand is going to be there because the government has put a 20% target. And I think we are ahead of that target as of now. So that is there. The fuel blending plus climate change and cheaper fuel, lot of structural point of view in favor of ethanol. And second, as we just mentioned, the premiumization trend. in the India's liquor consumption. So more brand focus, popularity of Indian-made foreign liquor. We see a couple of whiskeys winning the global award in terms of Indian companies. So that is also there, and of course the higher disposable income. So that said, the global spirit does offer a strong thesis on these factors, and the liquor plus ethanol combo, I think, we rise, and the recent ban which was lifted on the rice. So the question is, can the ban lifted on rice will help global spirit stock rise? कैसा लगा?
Oh,
Yeah, tricky one, tricky
Oh,
one.
Aditya का अभी चमका.
Yeah,
Oh.
some people will get it
nice,
after a few
nice.
times, but that's okay. Yeah, but again, this is just for an entertainment purpose. We don't advise anything. So so do consult your financial advisor. And I think, should we wrap it, guys? Then
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
yes. So that's it for this week, guys. See you later.
See you.
Like, share, subscribe, and comment down. Bye bye.